Xbox accidentally revealed this year's Call of Duty. Call of Duty 2024 is going to be a Black Ops game, and there was a ton of classified information about Black Ops 2024 that got leaked. The official name, the secrets hidden inside the reveal photo that Xbox posted on their Twitter account, the factions of the game, the time period, and even the main characters' names, and some story context for the game itself. I have all this leaked information for you, I compiled it for you, so let's go ahead and dive in. First off, the game name has been officially revealed, and it will be called Black Ops 6, with a Roman numeral 6 as in BI. This is contrary to popular belief the game would be called Black Ops 5. Call of Duty kind of came out and stated that while Black Ops Cold War does not follow the typical naming process of the Black Ops games, it is in fact the 5th game in the Black Ops series, and so they are respecting that as part of the Black Ops series. However, we also had this confirmed via game files for Call of Duty 2024 found inside the latest Modern Warfare 3 update, which did confirm the game to be called Black Ops VI as in Black Ops Roman numeral 6. And alongside this, Call of Duty accidentally got their game leaked by Xbox. Xbox posted their official information on the Xbox Game Reveal Showcase on June 9th, and attached to this image was in fact the Call of Duty attachment because at the beginning of this year, Microsoft bought out Activision Blizzard King, who make Call of Duty, so now they're under the same company, so it makes sense to show them off at the same time. But the actual reveal shows here a couple of blacked out sections with some little bits of white and orange sticking out. We kind of were able to line this up pretty quickly on Twitter, and everyone kind of sees. In the bottom right, it says Activision, who's the company who makes the games, and right up here in the middle, the blacked out sections are in fact Call of Duty and Black Ops 6, but what you probably missed is the background photo here. You probably immediately noticed the bright orange Cerberus logo, which I'll talk about in a second. But even behind that, there is a building and some kind of grayscaling effect, along with in the top left here, the words God We. What this actually does, it lines up perfectly with a $50 US bill, which has the US Congress building on the back and says above it, In God We Trust. As a matter of fact, you could even go a step further, and the actual shading pattern that they use for the $50 bill is the same in the reveal photo as it is on the US dollar bill, which means this is either going to have a game doing something with money laundering in the United States or have something to do with the Congress. It's not clear what yet, but we'll get a little bit more into it as I come out with my campaign video here in a couple days. Now, the Cerberus logo threw me off because it looks very familiar for some reason. I couldn't figure out why. It looks like a normal Call of Duty logo I've seen somewhere, and I couldn't put the pieces together. And then I just happened to accidentally line it up on top of the Perseus logo. The Cerberus and Perseus logos line up very, very well. As you can see here, the Perseus logo has a circle in the middle and the kind of two snake head things off the sides. These line up almost perfectly with the Cerberus logo, with the circle in the middle being the center head of Cerberus and the two kind of sections right here on the side being for each of the two heads. This kind of vertical line that makes a T at the top almost lines up perfectly with that of making the shield around the Cerberus logo, which hints that Cerberus might be the continuation of the Perseus organization, and I'll have a video coming out talking about them a little bit more in a couple days. But what I also want to talk about is the other factions in the game. So the Cerberus faction has kind of been confirmed to be the main villain faction of the game. They're the bad guys. What we also know is that there's a couple other factions in the game. There's the SAS, the US Marines, the Navy SEALs, and a bunch of other kind of like one-off organizations from different parts of the world. But as far as good guy factions in the game, there's actually 4 factions in the game that are kind of the good guys. We have the SAS, the CIA, the US Marines, and the Navy SEALs. So in the game, it starts off with you playing as an SAS operative, and at some point during the course of the campaign, you switch over to a Marine, and you switch over even then further to a Navy SEAL. Now, all of these factions are kind of the good guys, they're working together, they're trying to figure out what's going on, and from what the early hints are, there might be a reference or a small inclusion of a young Captain Price in this Black Ops game. Because if you remember, he, in the newest Modern Warfare series, references that he almost buried Imran Zakhaev in Pripyat with Macmillan back in the 90s. So it lines up perfectly that he could be a SAS operative who was active and in the field at the time of the Black Ops games. We might see a cameo, we might hear him mentioned, but regardless, we also know who the main characters of the game are. So when it comes to the main characters of the game, we know a couple game characters who will not be in the game. First off, Hudson is canonically dead. He died in Panama in 1989, and Alex Mason is canonically not around after Hudson's death. Depending on how you played Black Ops 2, he could be dead, he could be alive, but regardless, he's not part of the Black Ops world or any special operations following 1989 with the events of Panama and Menendez. We know Woods is going to be a part of the campaign, but in a supervisory role, because he was kneecapped by Menendez in 1989, so he can no longer walk. He's kind of wheelchair bound. So we also know Adler will be in the game, but from all accounts, it appears that he's going to take Hudson's position following Hudson's death in 1989 in Panama. Adler's going to take over kind of control of this overarching managerial position, and he may enter the field once or twice, but it makes a lot of sense considering he was kind of second in command to Hudson. Hudson died, now he gets free promotion, but we also know the main characters' names for Black Ops 6. First off, The main character we know confirmed to be in the game is named Ratcliffe. However, we have no further context on his name. Kind of doing a quick Google search of Ratcliffe in Gulf War, you'll find an SAS operative who was pretty highly awarded in the first and second Gulf War, named Ratcliffe, but we have no kind of confirmation that it's him. And as a matter of fact, this real life person got out of the service in 1997. So we also know that the main character of Black Ops Gulf War is only around until about 1997. And at that point, you switch to a second main character, and we know who the second main character is. Like I said, you switch over in 1997 to your second main character, and this second main character will be played by the actor Michael Silverblatt. He kind of plays some different shows and everything like that, but someone pointed out, and I can't get it out of my head, that he looks like a young David Mason. And it makes a lot of sense when you can look at the canonical timeline for it. David Mason signed up for the military in 1995-1996. He was part of SEAL Team 6 in 1997-1998, so it kind of lines up that he would take over as a main character for the Black Ops 6 game, and it would be his first introduction into this Black Ops Spec Ops world. It's kind of a theory, there's no real confirmation on it, but Michael Silverblatt does look a remarkable amount like David Mason. The next thing I want to talk about is the game itself and when it's set. The game itself will span one of the largest gaps of time in Call of Duty history for a single kind of narrative story off of 1 to 2 characters. It'll be roughly 13 to 14 years in total, with a campaign starting in 1990-1991 and ending sometime around 2003-2004. The game will take place in Iraq and Kuwait, which line up both kind of locations for the first and second Gulf War, as well as fighting terrorism in the early 2000s. We also know the game will take place in Somalia, which ties directly into the Black Hawk Down incident, where American soldiers were sent into Somalia alongside the UN to take out a Somalian warlord. However, both were sent undermanned and under-equipped to complete the mission, and that was a kind of, colossal boondoggle. And if you don't know what Black Hawk Down is about, go watch the movie. It's a great, accurate representation of what actually happened. We also know the game will take place in Russia and in Yugoslavia. Now, this kind of lines up when you look at the fall of the Soviet Union in the mid-1990s, and the fact that they kind of just cut off all these countries they had taken over and said, go figure out your own thing. And a great example of that is Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia was a country that was held together by the Russian government, telling people what to do and, not to fight each other. Okay, once Soviet Russia fell, you had the two sides, the Serbians and the Croatians, who both hated each other with a passion. They just started killing each other because they hated each other so much. So the two sides started fighting, and they ended up breaking up into 2 separate countries. So Yugoslavia was no more, and we had Serbia and Croatia now as 2 separate countries. But on top of this, Russia itself was kind of in a mess. So following the fall of the Soviet Union, there was kind of a bunch of regional power plays, people trying to take over, people with money trying to take control of certain regions of Russia. It was a whole mess because there was no government set up to go into place immediately following the fall of the Soviet Union. So with this, you had oligarchs taking control, people with money and power trying to take control, one of which who we may actually have already been introduced to. In Black Ops Cold War, we got introduced to a young Imran Zakhaev who had a bunch of power in what was kind of going on politically. He was talking to the president of Russia in a conference room with Russian generals about what to do in the 1980s. So considering that we also know he still has power to this day in the Modern Warfare timeline, as his son took over their black market gun smuggling program and all of their ultra-nationalist activities, we may in fact see that Imran Zakhaev is the main villain of Black Ops 6, as he is an oligarch who has access to black market gun dealing. He has ties to a bunch of generals in the military already. He has a lot of money, and canonically we know that he helped fund and power the invasion of Urzikstan in 1999 in the Modern Warfare story. A lot of things line up perfectly for him to be the villain of the game. Now this would be something else very interesting, because Call of Duty 4 featured Imran Zakhaev as the main villain of the series. He was a Russian oligarch, a black market arms dealer, and we saw him in Black Ops Cold War. So he may in fact very well be the villain of Gulf War, and it's a very interesting precedent because it means that Call of Duty could take villains from games like Modern Warfare's and Black Ops and actually transfer and move them between series as kind of overarching villains for the Call of Duty franchise, not necessarily the overarching villain for the Modern Warfare franchise or the Black Ops franchise, or even what appears to be another game coming in the Vanguard series. And I recommend you subscribe down below because I'm gonna have a whole video coming out here in the next day or two talking about just the multiplayer side of what got leaked and a little bit more kind of context, letting you know everything about the multiplayer. I'm gonna have a separate video talking about just zombies and a separate video talking about just the campaign, as well as keeping you up to date with every single leak that comes out when it comes out. And I'm gonna try to get a little bit better about making videos the same day these leaks come out. So make sure you subscribe for all of that down below, and also become part of my Yeti pack and stay up to date with all of my information that I give out to my community. And until next time, I am IceBurgz, your Call of Duty informant. Stay frosty.